Welcome back, everyone. And just a warning on this next segment. We're not going to be talking S4. We're not going to be talking BTP, whatever else, BDC, AI, none of that. What we're going to be talking about is things much very related to human skills the next little while. So how we upgrade ourselves in different ways. So I'll turn things over to Michelle Krom to introduce the panelists on there, and you ladies take it away.
Thanks so much. So how's everybody doing today? Last day of the event? How's it been so far? Head nods if it's been good. Yeah? So much going on so fast, right? So our session today is going to be about how enterprise architects can prepare themselves for the next generation of EAs and themselves. So what do we do to invest in ourselves, our skills, to be prepared? My name is Michelle Krom. I head up the enterprise architecture team in the Northeast. I've been with SAP going on 14 years. I've been in technology for well over 26 years. I know. I look that. But I've been in a lot of different areas of technology, so it's a passionate area of mine, but so is business. So here's why I'm part of the enterprise architecture team. So that's enough about me. Claudia, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you, Michelle. So Claudia Fernandez. I am Canadian. I'm based in Canada, and I have more than 20 years of experience working and leading SAP-enabled business transformations. My passion is helping the business come up with an aligned strategy and help them come up with a plan to execute and realize value. So that's me, and I've worked mostly in Canada, US, and Latin America.
Awesome. And Whynde?
Whynde Kuehn. I am a longtime thought leader, educator, practitioner in business architecture, and in particular leveraging it for a strategic strategy, execution, and transformational context. I'm also a co-founder of the Business Architecture Guild.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right, so let's get started. First question. What does the role of an enterprise architect look like in the future? Whynde, what do you think?
Well, I think this is one for us all to come together around and continue conversation. But from my perspective, I think it's first important to look at what are the forces of change that will impact this role. AI is probably top of mind for all of us. And another one I'll add from my perspective that I think is relevant is the increasing adoption of business architecture and the adoption of architecture as a competence and a discipline, not just as specific roles, and the use by business people of the architecture, particularly the business architecture around strategy, execution, and transformation. And so I think we have an opportunity as enterprise architects to really lean into intentional and integrated business design. And by that, I mean not just mapping, but really weaving together the experience, the people, the process, and technology in support of strategies, business models, value propositions that we know will continue evolving very quickly. And I think this is even more relevant because with AI, the technology aspects of our roles are going to change. But there's also a gap in the business. And that is, I see the business structures itself, but it doesn't necessarily do intentional, holistic design. The design of the business ends up being a bit fragmented. So I think this is really an opportunity for us to step into, of course, requiring a lot of interdisciplinary collaboration.
I could not agree more. I mean, if you think about it, with technology changing at the pace that it currently is, and it's only going to accelerate, AI automating and bringing that, ability to get knowledge quickly down to zero, where are we, from an enterprise architecture standpoint, what's next for us? And if you think about it, we are here to align with the business to help them achieve outcomes, right? So from a business architecture standpoint, understanding the business processes that they need and helping to optimize those processes so that they can actually achieve those outcomes and do so in a way that provides a delightful user experience or seamless user experience, right? So I think there's an opportunity for us to focus on the business, focus on delivering outcomes with that unified experience that literally can be stitching together applications underneath in order to leverage the technology and completely make it invisible, right, to your end user who just wants to get their job done. So I totally agree. I think there's going to be an increased focus on the business architecture side of what we do. Claudia?
Yes, I think those are great points. When you're talking about business and user experience, I also think that not only the role of the architect will change, but also perhaps the tools that they leverage and how they do their work. So if we can envision, there are tools that are available today that user experience design experts use. And so they use neuroscience tools to elicit requirements, to get into the subconscious. They say that just speaking with a business user to gather requirements, you get about 10% of what they really feel and think. Their 90% is like an iceberg. It's hiding underneath in the subconscious. So might the enterprise architect start to use neuroscience tools to figure out connecting with the brain or measuring the current to see what's the level of stress response? These are tools that are already available today, so it might be something that you will need to leverage in the future. Might you leverage digital twins to, rather than have a PowerPoint presentation, to walk and show and walk your business through the future state? So though I think there's a lot of new and exciting technology, but there's also some existing technology that we can potentially start to use in the future.
Wonderful. I couldn't agree more. So next question. What skill sets do you see an EA needing in the future? Claudia, what do you think?
In terms of skill sets, I think the technology obviously is changing very quickly. And so from my perspective, I think we will need to be able to adapt. We've heard that a lot, but adapt at a much faster pace. It's just changing so much. We heard this week in other sessions how there are new solutions, and I felt a little bit, perhaps a little bit of frustration about there's new solution, another solution. What do I do with my existing landscape? What does that mean for me? I think we're just going to see more and more change, and so we need to learn to be adaptable. We need to learn to adapt very quickly and to have the flexible solutions for that.
Awesome. I also think we're going to need to make sure that we are honing our skills around communication. Emotional intelligence is going to become even more important, and our ability to influence our business to take the most advantageous or optimal path forward is going to be kind of where we're going to be focusing a lot more of our time, especially with that knowledge going to zero, right? Like the automation, the AI, bringing it all together. Understanding it, obviously all of the learning and understanding how it all fits, but where are we going to focus more of our time and energy is going to require more of those soft skills that are getting developed.
Absolutely, spot on. And as we've already said, a true business architecture fluency in sort of thinking business first is important, not sort of afterthought, but really leading with that and being very familiar and adept. I love the slide that Paul had up earlier around this multidisciplinary, because I also think we need to be able to sort of bridge the gaps and, sew together the seams. I think we also need to understand other disciplines as well. Not just process, not just technology design, but for example, organization design, experience design, as you were talking about, almost sort of a renaissance set of skills as well to really open our minds as architects.
Absolutely, 100%. Do you have anything else to add? Or?
Yes, for sure. I think psychology is going to be something that is going to be needed. We saw with COVID, there was a lot of emphasis on mental health. I think there is more awareness about that these days. And again, these big disruptions that are going to come up, the unforeseen, the things that we cannot predict, are going to come up with charged emotions, and we're going to be dealing with very emotional stakeholders more and more. And so being able to understand and communicate in a way that is calming, that is bringing in some alignment, it's going to require a little bit of psychology.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, bringing in that empathy to what we're doing, that we understand the challenge that the business is facing, and we can commiserate or help them truly overcome that challenge. Yeah. So absolutely, 100%. So how do you think we should best develop talent? Like, what are some of the techniques that you would use?
Yeah, I think the first of all, the educational system will need to change significantly. Our system has been designed, more than 100 years ago, and it has been well known for even since I graduated more than 20 years ago, that the knowledge that you acquire through your education, formal education, is obsolete by the time you graduate. Most of it is anyway, and so that's going to be more and more true. So we need more multidisciplinary education across faculties, and we need more practical education. And so we are starting to see some universities are being innovative, and they're creating programs where the course-based curriculum is only maybe a year or so, and then you get into practical experience for the next year or two. And so having more emphasis on practicality is going to be important for the whole education system. When I went to high school in Bolivia, where I was born. We actually had, by the way, psychology as one of the subjects, and philosophy, and so that was part of a standard curriculum back then. And so I think that would be fantastic if we could have that in our systems in North America and Europe. And forward into the workplace, I think how we develop talent in the future, we really need to double down on coaching, on mentorship and apprenticeship at the workplace, so that there is a continuous learning mindset that we have in our teams.
Absolutely. I would even add fellowships to that. I know that they've been, very helpful for many folks that are, looking or interested in, developing in an enterprise architecture type role. In addition to that, I think, leveraging the tools, leveraging the frameworks that are available will be really important, but then also making sure that our, folks have the ability, understand how to leverage, prompt engineering, how to leverage AI to its fullest to get the information that they need at their fingertips, right? And actually get something valid. But then to that point, be able to research, understanding that the information that they do get back needs to be validated, right? It may not be 100% accurate, and we need to make sure that we have the right information that we're bringing forward. So research skills is also going to be increasingly important.
Love all those points, just picking up on some of the same threads. Rethinking education system, absolutely. Framework, understanding, and then also building around that. I love the academy idea. To me, that is where amazing architects are built, this immersion with topics from all different angles. And I also think to your point about practicality as well, and doing some maybe creative things like, why not architecture hackathons for kids? Let's plant the ideas much earlier. Let's make things practical also, that we can have people coming in the workforce in this very robust role at younger ages. Also, architecting for good, that's also done today, leveraging our architecture skills to help nonprofits or small businesses. Those are great ways for people to grow their skills and get practical too.
Absolutely. One other skill that I think is going to truly help benefit everyone is collaboration, being collaborative. Where we can bring together different disciplines, different perspectives, different points of view, and this is going to lean into our next topic around diversity, truly, and like bringing those different areas in, but then collaborating together to poke holes through ideas to make sure that we're looking at it from all angles and not missing a perspective or missing a view, so that what we bring forward is the best collective product that we can versus anything that any of us could do individually, right? So that collaboration, knowledge sharing, something that our organization does really, really well, and it's one of our strengths. It also helps to build a really embracing culture on the team. So, where you have folks that are excited, motivated, feel included, right, are engaged, you are getting the most out of those team members, the greatest value. And when we put all of our brains together, we're unstoppable. So anything else that you'd like to add to diversity?
Everything you said, yes. And that diversity of thought, perspective, experience makes us stronger. Maybe I'll share a story, an anecdote that I learned. So I used to have a team of 100 business architects, and we grew really fast. And one of the most important lessons that I sort of painfully learned firsthand was that we were trying to hire a certain pattern of a business architect. And honestly, it was sort of a unicorn, right? This person that could do everything. And not only was it hard to find those people, but when we got a lot of those people or close in that pattern, we realized that it was actually quite brittle because we had blind spots. We couldn't build relationships with all the people we needed to because we had people from very similar backgrounds. We had a lot of groupthink. So just to say that we all believe in the power of diversity for what it brings to us. And, I was lucky enough to sit on this stage a year ago, and this audience and their passion around women in architecture and diversity in architecture has actually stayed with me for a year. I was really inspired by the drive of this community. So I feel like collaboration, we really believe in this, makes us better.
That's awesome. What a great story. What I do on my team when I'm hiring, I look to leverage that diverse aspect in addition to collaboration so that we are jointly going off and, helping our customers as much as possible. But what I'll do is I'm not just looking for, hey, how many women do I have on my team? Do I have enough, right? Or, do I have cultural diversity or religious diversity? I'm not looking at it from that lens. When I look at people, we're all people. I don't care what color, shape, gender we are. I'm looking at it from the perspective of what do we have from different points of view that we bring together to make a whole. And so I look for what don't we have from the candidates that are coming in. Maybe I have a gap in data and analytics. So this person's strong in data and analytics. They're able to communicate well, right? So I might lean toward that person versus someone else because what I'm trying to do is create the ideal unicorn EA with everybody, right? And making sure that we have the different skill sets that we're able to cross-pollinate across the team. Yeah, sure, we want to make sure that there's some element, right? We're keeping in mind, gender diversity, cultural diversity, everything to some degree, but it's not about meeting a KPI, right? It's about creating a collective whole that is truly going to be able to outshine and produce the greatest result for our customer together. Claudia, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I think a different perspective, obviously, that I can bring on diversity is based on coaching that I have done to a lot of female professionals who may also be visible minorities. And they often come to me saying, you know, I feel that I am at disadvantage. I feel that I don't have a seat at the table. How do I get a seat at the table? And so, you know, first of all, take a seat at the table and talk about your ideas, share your ideas, and listen to other people's ideas. You know, that's how you get a seat at the table. It's not just by talking, it's by listening. Also, don't assume that you don't have a seat at the table. And one thing that I was really blessed early in my career, I was an engineer. I'm a chemical engineer by training, and I worked in manufacturing facilities, in paper mills. And what really helped me was that I read something, or somebody told me that the most difficult thing, that the most challenge that a young professional had was getting noticed. And working in a paper mill in a rural area in Newfoundland, Canada, I can tell you I had no problem getting noticed. I was young, I was female, and I'm a Bolivian, a Latino. And so I saw my being different as an advantage, and I was grateful for it. And I didn't see my colleagues as an adversary. I saw them as my friends, the people who were supportive of me. And so I hung out with them. And so, you know, it's just a lot of things. And again, the psychology of it and the mindset. And I like to come from a paradigm of abundance. Call me a dreamer, but I like to come from a paradigm of abundance, and that we should be in a place, in a society where there is opportunities for everyone, where everyone can find jobs that they love, everyone can be credited for the work that they do, for their brilliance. And so I just think it's a yes and question. It's yes, we can do diversity, and we need to have a place for everyone. There's enough work to be done out there for all of us.
And I love what you said about mindset. I think that really is something we should think about, right? Because how many times have we stopped ourselves from moving forward because of our own mindset, right? So put down your fears. Somebody else is talking and you have something to say, you say it. Like, why not you? Doesn't matter, you know, whatever things that you think might be wrong or different or whatever. Let's leave our baggage at the door, right? And come together to truly make a difference in this world. So anybody else, what do you guys think? I'd love to hear from all of you what you think we need to do next.
Totally agree with everything you said. Just because we had the same kind of discussion internally, so I would like to add maybe one or two elements. So the first thing you didn't mention is the difference between the different kind of architects. That is a huge difference. So that architect, solution architect, there's maybe too much discussion around that, but to become an enterprise architect takes time. That's the first thing. The second thing that we've decided internally is every architect needs to have some foundations. So we spent some time on discussing what could be the best foundations. TOGAF is maybe the best approach to start, at least for the common vocabulary for everybody. And also to pass the certification, you need to show that you are really willing to do it. So that was the second point I want to say. So common foundations, and then helping each architect to be good in something. So we wanted them to shine in something. They can be awesome, but in some point we want them to be at the edge, because that will create the colors, the different colors of your teams. Something where I did see some difficulties for some architects is their capability. Two main problems. The first one is the capability to be straight to the point. The tech people, they like to be directly going down to the technology, and when they talk to CIO or people from the business, I mean, it's hard for them to to simplify the messages. So that's the soft skill. So that's the kind of coaching that we like to do. Tell a story, simplify the message, etc. And that is a hard point, takes time. The second thing that was very funny and sometimes difficult is we try to use or to grow developers or solution architect to enterprise architect. And we detected they have one issue. You ask them a problem, they will find a solution. So building a scenario or two scenarios for them is very hard. No, but I know the solution. Yeah, but it's better if you can propose one or two scenarios. But why? Because I know the solution. Okay, but so that is also a kind of coaching and making people grow. So I totally agree on that. And my question was more, did you create a kind of path for growing people with maybe multiple levels, different type of coaching or training that you have in your team? So level 1, then level 2, then level 3. And how do you make these people know that they are at each level so that they can move forward? And do you impose also some time frame to move from one level to another one? Because that's part of the excellence. Mm-hmm. Long question, but
Yeah.
sorry.
Long question, William.
Remember, I'm a tech. You know, I told you,
Grab the
very
mic
difficult
fast,
to go straight
please.
to the point.
Yeah, some great points. Thank you. That was really interesting to hear. And so when you were talking about storytelling and shortening your answer and going straight to the
Don't
answer.
steal James Marlin's presentation on storytelling, Claudia. He's next.
I'll try not to. But that is so important because in the past, we had a problem. We didn't have enough information. We have on-premise systems. Everything is manually, it's written in different documents. I think in the future, you're going to have too much information. You're going to have so much information that you need to really be able to summarize it succinctly, very briefly and to the point at the executive level. So it has to be a very business-driven. It's a challenge, isn't it, for that? And so I think part of the answer is yes, absolutely, the training, the specialization, and having the level of the layers of level, but also the type of background that you're seeking. I think I heard I think it was the Department of Defense in the U.S., and they have their cybersecurity team. They are onto this. They figure out that they actually need to start looking in very different fields of study. They're hiring people with philosophy degrees, social sciences degrees, because those people need to be able to override the AIs that are detecting potential fraud or cyber attacks, and they need to be able to understand the human. They need to understand that, and therefore they want people that have this humanities background. I think those are the different answers. Also, different companies have different organizational structures, and so the other question that I don't know if you mentioned or if you dealt with was, where do you put the architects? Do you put them within the business, or do you put them in a single group altogether? And so and I know what your perspective is, because I heard it in your talk yesterday, but arguably you could put them with a business, and so that creates another layer of this matrix organization perspective that could be also quite beneficial.
Now, I know we are at time, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but the whole point of this conversation was to really get you thinking about what are the skills that we're going to need 5, 10 years from now, so that we are preparing for that and we're there and ready when it gets there, right? So we're able to navigate that change and be ready for when it comes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy to finally get a flag photo with some ladies that are friends.
Where do you want us to go? Behind you?
No. Yep. Oh yeah, my phone. A phone does help. This is my first time.
You got it? Go on this side.
Man, the phone. That's the thing.